Let's talk about structures as function arguments. In the previous videos, we've talked about introducing structures, initializing them, also having them inside of arrays. This is a bit different though because we're passing them as arguments to a function. So let's first start with our main method, int main, and this is where we're going to be testing everything. Secondly, let's do our structures. So let's make a structure of a shape. So let's do struct, and I'll actually call this rectangle, and then inside of here, let's give it some aspects. Or some adjectives. We'll have a double length and a double width. That's perfect. So double length, double width, and then we should also have like an area. So we also have double area as well. Since these are all the same variables, just like variables that you can have in a main method, you don't have to be afraid with declaring it all on the same line as well. So if we wanted to, you can have them literally on the same line like this. Make sure with every single structure you have a semicolon at the very end of it. Now, for the methods, there's a few ways that we can do this. I want to get the area of this structured rectangle. And a way we can do this is by doing the following. You can have a void and then an int, Replit is confusing me. Int area, so the return type and then the name of the method. Inside of here, let's pass in the area of our rectangle. So to do this, we want a double, and it's going to just be called length, and we'll have double width. So inside of this method, we are going to want to multiply it to return the area. So we're just going to return length times width, and that's pretty much it. Inside of our main method, let's make an instance of our structure. To do this, all you need is the structure name, so rectangle, and then we can call this 1. This is going to be rectangle 1. So we are going to have 1.length, and we'll set it equal to 2, and then we'll also have 1.width, and we'll set it equal to 3. So it should give us an area of 6. When we do this call, all we're going to need to do is 1.area is equal to, and then we want to call our area method, and then we're going to pass in our 1.length and our 1.width. So we'll pass it in here. It's going to go into this. It's going to store it in here. Let's see out what we're going to get. So we'll do 1.area is going to be in our cout, and I'll end this line in case we're going to run anything after this. And boom! You see that we've gotten 6. Now sometimes instead of passing in the members of a structure, it's more convenient to pass in the entire structure variable into our function. Well, how would we do this? All you gotta do is if we overwrite this and pass in area, all we need to do is pass in the type, so it's going to be a rectangle, and then we need to pass in, we can just call it r for the variable. So this is going to get all of the values inside of this struct. It's going to get all the members inside of here. So for this example, we'll make a new rectangle instead of our main, call it r, let's initialize everything. Remember, you can do it, you don't have to do it all one by one, you can do all in the same line if you fill it in the way that it's filled in here. We filled in the length and the width. We don't need to worry about the area now. We'll do that inside of here. So to pass this into our method here, all we need to do is first store it into an integer since it's returning an integer type. We'll store it into area, so we'll do r.area is equal to area, where we just pass in rectangle, where it is an r. And boom! Now we have a copy of this rectangle inside of here. And it's just that though, unfortunately, it is a copy. I'll tell you why that's kind of a problem in a second. Now let's say we want the area to be printed out. Well, since this is a copy of r and we've already defined our length and our width, all we need to return is r.length times r.width. We can even print this out. So we'll cout r.area and we'll end this line. And you see that we're going to get a 25 because it's just length times width. We're going to get 25. Now the problem is if we want to modify something. So let's say that instead of returning, let's just make another method here actually. We'll do void and we'll call this modify. And then inside of here we're going to pass in a rectangle r like this. So this is our method void modify. Now let's say we want to change our length of our r. You can get rid of this for any confusion. Let's say we want to do this and just print out our r.length afterwards, just to check it, right? As a matter of fact, we'll print it out beforehand, and we're going to print it out after our change. So line 32 is going to be our change where we call our method. Let's call this modify, and then we are going to pass in our rectangle, which just happens to be r. So we've passed in this rectangle into modify, right? So we have access to 5 and 5 for our length and our width. Now I want to modify this. r.length is now equal to 3. And we'll just say r.width is equal to 20. The only problem is when we do this r.length down here, even though we've modified it in here, we're only going to print out a 5. We printed out a 5 both times. Why is that? Well, that's because when we pass this instance of our rectangle into this function, we're actually passing a copy of it. So we're not passing the actual rectangle that we've created. To do this, to pass by reference and not a copy, you need the ampersand symbol. We've gone over this before, but it's just a little bit refresher. You might have forgotten. If we have this ampersand symbol, the length will turn into a 3. Well, we've updated it. And you can see that right here. So that's going to be it with structures as function arguments. If you have any questions, as always, please leave a comment below. And if you want more C++, there's always that playlist, link below the like button.